Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local. All right, so the next item is really about something which Darren Shaw, I think, was the first to identify in Canada, the identification of review volume by location. So in the screenshot that he provided that's on, I think it was Monday's newsletter, I think. What you see is you see the individual's name, and then you see the reviewer name, and then you see X reviews in location. And then, of course, the text of the review, and then this is true for the next person as well. And this is apparently just a test. I couldn't recreate it. You couldn't recreate it. But it's interesting in terms of the role of location in preventing fraud or signaling authenticity to the end user. And initially, on first blush, it looks really helpful. Oh, this person has written a bunch of reviews in this city. They must be authentic. But I'm not so sure, to the end user at least, that it is in fact that helpful, and review locations can be spoofed or faked. So what's more interesting about it is the way that Google may be incorporating location, user location, review location into its algorithm, its anti-fraud algorithm. And my own theory, which you may disagree with, is that it's probably easier to police reviewers than it is to police individual reviews, and that might be a more fruitful approach to spam fighting.
Yeah, historically, Google has not operated that way. Historically, their algorithm has been focused on abuses or terms of service violation or issues with the individual reviews. They have, over the last year, elevated the ability, for example, to even flag a profile and for them to delete a profile. So there has been some movement in that direction. One of the things that's interesting about, Darren's discovery is it surfaces and makes clear that Google is tracking user location as it relates to reviews. And it makes sense when you think about an AI. If you look at history of a lot of fake reviews, a lot of times they come out of India or some third party or some remote business, whatever. And clearly, if that information was used to train an AI, then the AI would identify location as a critical matter. So that's one issue. The other is, in the forums, I am seeing indications in small businesses that do have remote clients that sometimes these remote reviews are flagged and not shown, but when we escalate them, they might show back up. So there's this second, clue there. The third is that in the forum, and I've been tracking probably close to 250 cases of missing reviews, very rarely do bricks and mortar businesses report this issue. So, the inference of that is that somebody went to the bricks and mortar business. Google knows they went to the bricks and mortar business, left a review, and didn't filter it. So we see this much more in service area businesses, particularly in real estate, where the real estate agent meets the client at the house, and who knows where they left the review from. We see this much more commonly there, this reviews being flagged. So it is clear that Google's tracking location review. It's clear that it provides a trust signal about the review. Exactly all the specifics of it aren't yet clear. Again, whether surfacing that information to the users is useful.
It's not that useful, I don't think. I mean, I think, it creates the appearance of authenticity or integrity, and that may be part of Google's objective here, is to counter the perception that there's a lot of review fraud on the site, right?
So you can't dazzle them with brilliance, you baffle them with bullshit, that kind of thing.
Well, I don't want to say it's bullshit, but I think it may have more to do with Google trying to create the impression of veracity, authenticity, than actually giving a useful tool to the user, because users aren't going to drill into these individual profiles. They're just going to see that and see that as a marker of authenticity. Right. So two quick comments. One is that this was a methodology that Apple was talking about in terms of its own thumbs up, thumbs down, kind of more structured review process, is that they were going to use location as an anti-fraud measure. I don't know if that's actually happening, but that was one of the things that they talked about. And Google presumably is not seeing iPhone users as they go into stores. Presumably, it's seeing Android users where people have not disabled location or not disabled tracking. And um, on an individual review basis, that's less helpful than sort of extrapolating about foot traffic in response to some ad exposure or something like that, where you can say,
Right.
X% of people went into the store, and we can assume, something about the size of the impact of the ad. But in an individual review context, I suspect they're only seeing half the audience and not seeing most iPhone users who go into
Right.
stores.
Right. On the Apple front, I mean, Apple has an advantage from a moderation point of view because they really only allow bricks and mortar businesses with locations into the maps. They do not support service area businesses with hidden address. I mean, Google, I did a tweet on this last week, created a massive problem by supporting these, then, letting so many millions in that, okay, fake locations in and fake reviews in at scale until, people were burnt at scale. They finally built a solution at scale, which deletes real reviews and fake reviews at scale. I mean, the SAB thing that Google is a Pandora's box for Google and
Yeah.
very difficult to manage. Um, and it's where most of the abuse is. So you see a lot of review problems there more than in bricks and mortar.
Well, it's one of the things that I know a little bit about the transparency company because I worked with Curtis on an initial review fraud report, and then subsequently we've had a number of conversations. Curtis Boyd, who runs that, and one of the things that they use a bunch of different criteria to identify review fraud. But one of the things that they look at is the the geographic distribution of individual profiles, right? So the review distribution. So if you're somebody who's in New York and you've got reviews all over the world, well, it's possible that you're a business traveler or some wealthy individual who flies all over the place and leaves reviews everywhere. But that's an indicator of potential fraud because you're not most people. The pattern is that most people are going to write reviews in a couple of locations and they're going to be concentrated there. So if you look at the individual profile and you see this massive distribution of reviews all over the place, that's a problem. And also the sort of
It's more of a problem if you see it in home services than it is
well, right,
in
and certain
hotels or
categories,
restaurants, right?
right? Yeah. So I mean, my instinct, and I'm certainly not a AI expert or data scientist, but my instinct is um, that Google would be better served by looking at individual review profiles, which of course get created all the time, rather than individual reviews. To get the root of the problem, you eradicate the fraudulent reviewer or the profile, and the individual reviews are sort of catch as catch can in a
The
certain
other
way.
way they are doing that to some extent. The other way they seem to be working on this problem is by making it much more expensive to create a listing and get reviews out of the gate for service area businesses. For example, if you create a new business on Google right now, it's a week or 10 days before it even shows up in maps. It no longer shows up instantly. And then if you start asking for reviews for this new profile, Google buries all the reviews. So you can't even get reviews for this new location. So it's very difficult for that fake location to build up credibility and rank quickly. And thus it drives the cost up for spammers. So I do think they're doing something along those lines as well.
Yeah, my personal theory is that Google is anticipating they're going to get spanked in Europe when these new Digital Markets Act and other regulatory um, new regulations that are designed to protect against counterfeiting, fraudulent content, and so on, and illegal content when they kick in basically May of next year, that Google will have to be showing in good faith that it's doing a lot more than it has historically to address this problem. Otherwise, they may get a lot of adverse publicity and fines and whatever. So I think that they've been gearing up. This is not based on any direct information that I have, but I think that we're seeing them ratchet up the review anti-fraud efforts partly in response to what's going on
So quick
over
side
there.
note, when you said they're going to get spanked, I had this text to image idea for DALL-E 2
Yes,
of
yes.
Sundar being spanked by somebody in the EU.
Well, you probably can't create that image because I think they block you from using famous individuals.
Oh, do they? Yeah, they
You
also
can do
block you
do it. Yeah, go
from
ahead.
things like spanking fannies. That's
Right,
probably
right.
also
Yeah,
not allowed.
BDSM and all. So you can go to Stable Diffusion and probably do that because somebody did. I think it was somebody at Protocol. Maybe I'm forgetting the journalist who did it and created a Elon Musk with a chainsaw image.
Oh, right, I saw that. That was a good
Yeah,
one.
yeah. So that was a case where the terms didn't block the use of a famous likeness.
Thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.